In the public line, we're active. Where's Owen? Oh, unmute them? Okay. There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have 7 p.m.
Okay. It is now 7:00 p.m., and I will call the meeting to order. Can I please get a roll call?
Vice President Anderson,
Here.
Councillor Blakely,
Here.
Councillor Forbeck,
Here.
Councillor Keys,
Here.
Councillor Levy,
Here.
Councillor Preschel,
Here.
President Duncan,
Here.
all present.
Can you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under special orders of the day and announcements, there are 2 proclamations. We will not be reading them in full tonight. The first one is a proclamation declaring May 17th through the 23rd as National Public Works Week. 3B is a proclamation declaring May 17th through the 23rd as Emergency Medical Services Week. These proclamations are available on the city's website.
Before we move on to public hearings, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge all of our staff members who are providing the city's response to the ongoing health pandemic. In recognition of National Public Works Week and Emergency Medical Services Week, a big thank you on behalf of the City Council and our community to all of our city employees and to all of our city employees for all their hard work. A special thank you to City Attorney Beth Kruger as well for her expertise.
There are several public hearings this evening. Under item 4A, we have consideration of resolution 2020-66 approving a conditional use permit to allow a daycare center for the property located at 1230 House Street.
At this time, our Community Development Director, Julie Christensen, will provide a brief overview for us.
Carolyn operates Kitty Ranch 2 Daycare Center at 1702 House Street, and the proposed conditional use permit is to operate a before and/or after-school facility for school-age children at 1230 House Street, which is the former location of the original Kitty Ranch after-school program run by the previous owners of Kitty Ranch. She obtained a conditional use permit to operate a religious institution known as Hope for All International Ministry at this location back in 2015, and this proposed daycare use would be in addition to the existing religious institution use with alternating hours of operation. Ms. Lonecker is in the process of obtaining a state license. Ample off-street parking is available in the adjacent municipal parking lot. The applicant has not proposed any changes to the exterior of this building at this time. The only comment, we did receive a comment from a neighbor prior to the Plan Commission meeting, and I'm sorry that it wasn't included in the packet. And the neighbor was just concerned that the former after-school program had hung art on the fence, and they didn't want to see that happen again. And Marilyn assured them at the Plan Commission meeting that she had no intention of allowing that. The Plan Commission reviewed this item on May 6th and voted unanimously 5-0 to recommend approval, subject to the conditions which are listed in the resolution which was included in your packet this evening. The conditions are: this conditional use permit authorizes the use of the subject property as a licensed daycare center provided that approval is granted from the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families, DCF. DCF will establish maximum occupancy levels. The applicant's 2015 conditional use permit and all conditions attached thereto remain in full force and effect. The religious institution use and daycare center use shall occur at alternating times. And then your standard condition of major changes coming back through this public process through Plan Commission and City Council by amending this conditional use, and that staff may approve minor changes administratively. And just a reminder on conditional use permits that when you impose conditions or you are proposing to deny, you must provide substantial evidence for any conditions or a denial.
Thank you, Julie. When the City Council agenda was posted, an email address was included to provide an opportunity for community input by noon today. At this time, the public hearing is open. Would the clerk treasurer please provide any input received?
There was no input received on this item.
Therefore, the public hearing is now closed. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution? Is there a motion?
I will make that motion. This is Mark.
Okay, it's a motion by Councillor Prushel. Is there a second?
Second by Councillor Blakely.
Thank you. We have a second by Councillor Blakely. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, none at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Councillor Beck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Simply to state that I think that this does great things for Beloit to have another place for people to have childcare.
Thank you, Councillor Beck. Councillor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keys. Councillor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Prushel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I would like to echo what Councillor Forbeck said, plus thank Marilyn Sloniker for pursuing this and doing so much over in the West Side to preserve childcare that we've come to know for many, many decades. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. At this time, there's a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson,
Aye.
Councillor Blakely,
Aye.
Councillor Forbeck,
Aye.
Councillor Keys,
Aye.
Councillor Levy,
Aye.
Councillor Preschel,
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Under item 4B, we have consideration of resolution 2020-67, approving a conditional use permit to allow a school, Lincoln Academy, in a C3 community commercial district for the Eclipse Center property located at 600 Henry Avenue.
Our Community Development Director, Julie Christensen, will provide a brief overview.
Hendricks Commercial Properties LLC has applied for this conditional use permit to allow a school in a C3 community commercial district for the Eclipse property located at 600 Henry Avenue. They own and operate the mixed-use Eclipse Center and recently received a demolition permit to raise and remove the former Kohl's building and other vacant portions of the northeast part of the structure. The proposed Lincoln Academy School redevelopment involves the construction of a new school building near the corner of Henry Avenue and Morris Street, along with the construction of parking areas, recreation areas, pickup and drop-off lanes, and sidewalks. The applicant has also hired a surveyor to create a certified survey map to create a new 4.25 acre standalone parcel for the Lincoln Academy School. The proposed school and Eclipse Center will utilize existing driveways via ingress and egress easements to be established. The certified survey map already went to Plan Commission and so was approved by them at their last meeting. That doesn't come before you because there was no dedication of land to the public. Plan Commission reviewed this item on May 6th and voted unanimously to recommend approval of the conditional use permit, subject to the 4 conditions and 4 ordinance requirements included on the attached resolution. The conditions are that this conditional use permit authorizes the K-12 school use and accessory uses contemplated in the overall redevelopment concept for the Lincoln Academy Charter School, as shown on the attached site plan. This approval is contingent upon the school obtaining all required state approvals. In order to evaluate anticipated car and bus traffic and recommended improvements, a traffic impact analysis shall be prepared by the applicant and submitted for city staff approval during site plan review. And I believe we've already received a copy of that traffic impact analysis. But it was required to evaluate bus and car pickup queues and the driveway around the building in the southeast corner of the project site. And the applicant, as a result of that, may be required to construct any or all of the on or off-site improvements recommended by the traffic impact analysis. In order to promote neighborhood walkability and safe routes to school goals, a sidewalk connection meeting ADA standards shall be provided between Morris Avenue and Henry Avenue through or adjacent to the property. And then our standard condition about major changes coming back through this public process and minor changes being approved administratively. And then the resolution goes on to say, be it further resolved that the applicant is formally advised of the following additional ordinance requirements. In accordance with section 8-103 of the zoning ordinance, a parking study is required to confirm that adequate off-street parking stalls will be provided to serve the use. Prior to issuance of a permit, the applicant shall submit site and architectural plans for staff review and approval in the form of a certificate of zoning compliance and an architectural review certificate. A construction site erosion control and post-construction stormwater management plan are also required. In order to ensure that only one primary building is located on each parcel, the applicant's one-lot CSM shall be recorded with Rock County Register of Deeds before a building permit will be issued. And then finally, in accordance with section 2-506 of the zoning ordinance, the applicant shall have 12 months from the date of the conditional use permit issuance to complete construction and commence use of the offices, or the conditional use permit shall lapse and be of no further effect. And Plan Commission did recommend approval 5-0.
Thank you, Julie. When the city council agenda was posted, an email address was included to provide an opportunity for community input by noon today. At this time, the public hearing is open. Would the clerk treasurer please provide any input received?
There were several this evening, so bear with me. The first is from Kyra Zellinger, 1019 McKinley Avenue, Beloit, Ywca Region 6 President. We understand that this is an agenda item to approve or deny the zoning request for the proposed Lincoln Academy Charter School. We are opposed to the chosen location of Lincoln Academy because we are opposed to locating this school anywhere in our community. In any case, because this so-called public charter has not been widely publicized or debated, there have not been many opportunities for the public to participate and share our thoughts, and we have statements we want on the public record. Number one, I am against this charter school because it takes vital funding away from all Beloit children and divides public dollars, pitting the funding to educate some students against others. Number two, I am against this charter school because while it calls itself public, there is no public accountability to this community. We cannot vote for or against the board, nor can we vote for or against the UW system's authorizers. Number three, I am against this charter school because their application to the UW Office of Educational Opportunities only included data from 24 parents. Another part of their application says they surveyed 48 members of the Beloit community and 32 of them had children currently part of the school district of Beloit. How were these parents selected? This is disingenuous, and this sample size is far too small to be valid. I'm against this charter school because the school's application does not show that they are offering anything new or of any unique value to the community that our public school district of Beloit does not already offer. I am against this charter school because it divides instead of unites and will create a more pronounced disparity in our community by taking even more resources away from educating our children. This is especially important for our children with special needs. The second is from Daniel Boralski, 1301 Chapin Street. I understand this is on the agenda item to approve or deny the zoning request. He states the same items 1 through 4 that Kyra Zellinger states. The vital funding away from all Beloit children, against because it calls itself public, against because of the UW Office of Educational Opportunities, against because of the school's application not showing that it offers a different value, and against this charter school because it divides instead of unites. The third is from Dr. Lisa Anderson Levy. We understand that this is an agenda item to approve or deny the zoning request for the proposed Lincoln Academy. This is also goes on to state the exact same as the first person I read, with just listing items 1 through 4, taking away vital funding. Charter schools are not required to accept children with any special needs. Currently, the state funds special education at 33%, and public schools are legally bound to accept every child. Charter schools with no requirement to accept any children with special needs will divert this already limited funding. The other items were the same as previous speakers. The next one is from Monette Bebo Reinhardt. Overall, I oppose charter schools, period. This sounds like an attempted takeover of our public school system that says only the people who can afford it deserve to be educated. It's like a Trump program that also says only those who can afford it deserve health care. Public schools need to be improved, and they need every tax dollar to do that. If certain rich kids are removed to a charter school, will their tax dollars also be removed from my public system? Here is what I found on charter schools. Charter schools, vouchers, and other choice options redirect public money to privately operated education enterprises, which often operate for profit. That harms public schools by siphoning off students, resources, and funding while reducing the ability of your public schools to serve the full range of student needs and interest. Operate for profit sounds like a rich kid's school to me. I oppose them on the grounds that all kids deserve an equal chance, and that will be disintegrating the minute you let something like this move in. Improve your public schools, don't destroy them. The next input was from Aaron Wilson, 421 Central Avenue, Beloit. I'm emailing because I believe in public education. I believe in the offerings of the school district of Beloit. I recognize this is an agenda item to approve or deny the zoning request for the proposed Lincoln Academy Charter School. I'm opposed to locating the Lincoln Academy within the Beloit community. I would encourage the Beloit City Council to more widely publicize, debate, and put the creation of a charter school to a full citywide vote. I apologize. I'm against this charter school because it takes vital funding away from the Beloit children and divides public dollars, pitting the funding to educate some students against others. I'm against this charter school because it divides instead of unites and will create a more pronounced disparity in our community by taking even more resources away from educating our children. This is especially important for our children with special needs. The next is from Robert D. Levy, 723 Church Street. I understand this is an agenda item to approve, deny the zoning request for the proposed Lincoln Academy Charter School. This is exactly as the first speaker put in, with one additional. Moreover, I am opposed to this proposal since it does not demonstrate substantial evidence to support the diversion of public monies to a charter school away from the school district of Beloit. The next one is from Stephanie Rapak, 3036 Kelly Court, Janesville. She is a 7th grade language arts educator. I'm writing to you because I understand there is an agenda item coming up that will consider the zoning of Lincoln Academy, a proposed charter school in Beloit. I want to let you know that as an educator with 34 years of teaching in the public school system, currently at Aldrich Intermediate School District School in Beloit, I have seen firsthand the devastation that charter schools such as the proposed Lincoln Academy have done to our public school systems and our students. This charter school, although calling itself public, does not adhere to the accountability standards that public schools must follow. There is no community accountability with board members that the community can vote for or against. There was not enough research or data conducted from the parents of the Beloit community regarding input into this proposal, and there is nothing that this school will be offering that is not already being offered in the current public school district of Beloit. And most importantly, if this school becomes a part of our community, essential funding that our education system relies on will be taken away from other students and from programs that benefit our students. A charter school weakens a community and creates a system of haves and have-nots. With regards to resources, programs, and funding, I feel strongly that if you allow this to happen, our students will be the ones to lose in the end. I wish to go on record with my statements and hope that you will thoughtfully consider the impact of bringing a charter school such as Lincoln Academy to our community. The next is from Nicolette B. Meister, 731 Harrison Avenue. We understand that this is an agenda item to approve or deny the zoning request for the proposed Lincoln Academy Charter School. This is an exact statement of the very first speaker, items 1 through 5. Deb Fallon of 1232 Elm Street in Beloit. She is opposed to approving zoning for the construction of the proposed Lincoln Academy charter at the former coal site. I am opposed to this zoning change for the purpose of establishing a charter school because I do not feel this charter school has been widely publicized or debated. Because it takes vital funding away from all Beloit children and divides public dollars, pitting the funding to educate some students against others. Because it is called a public charter school, but we do not know how it will be accountable to the community, and because the application of the UW Office of Educational Opportunities included data from a very small pool of community members. If the Lincoln Academy Charter School Board of Directors thinks it can be a better educational institution to serve our students than our present one, then I encourage them to work within the existing framework, the Beloit Public School System. Thank you. 2 more. 1 more. Anna Schmidt, teacher at BMHS and parent of 3 children in the school district of Beloit. I'm very concerned to learn that there is an agenda item to approve or deny the zoning request for the Lincoln Academy Charter School. I've been opposed to this charter school from the very beginning, and I'm even more troubled that the charter school zoning is up for discussion at the time when COVID-19 has put our community in a state of crisis. The future is very uncertain. To forge ahead with a charter school at this time seems unwise and reckless. But most important, to do something that would undoubtedly siphon more money away from the school district of Beloit seems cruel and divisive. I would hope that even the harshest critics could see that in the last few months, the school district of Beloit has rallied to perform vital services for our community, not only educating students, but also feeding families and keeping people connected to the life-saving support services. This should be a time to find clarity about our priorities as a community and invest in supporting a unified school system. The school district of Beloit will always serve the majority of the children in Beloit. The Lincoln Academy is taking an opportunistic gamble to exploit the fears of some parents in our community. Even if it succeeds, this charter school would serve as an elite few, but further cripple the school district's ability to adequately address the growing needs of our most vulnerable children. This ends my comments.
Thank you. We have a representative from the Lincoln Academy, Lisa Forsyth, here. Lisa, can you please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure, Lisa Forsyth. My address is, I'll use my work address, 690 3rd Street, Beloit, Suite 300.
Great.
Comments?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay.
You can proceed.
So, while I respect and acknowledge the diversity of opinions about the value of charter schools in our community, I won't take that on tonight other than to acknowledge it and say we appreciate those opinions. I would like to correct the inaccuracies in the public comments that were made so that there is accurate information reflected for the record. The number of parents cited by several of your speakers was drawn from an application that was submitted with our charter materials back in October of last year. Public conversations were just getting going. Since that time, the Lincoln Academy team has held dozens of public conversations and has an ongoing contact list of more than 500 individuals in the community who have participated in those conversations. We have nearly 300 petition signatures and additional surveys generating feedback about the school. That survey information is being used to help shape the academic model and the structure of the school. One of the speakers noted that charter schools are for-profit schools. While that may be possible in some locations, that is not the plan for Beloit. Kids First Beloit is the applicant for the public charter school from UW. Kids First Beloit is a not-for-profit organization, and no one personally or no organization will benefit financially from that endeavor. Speakers talked about charter schools not being required to serve special needs students and special education students. That is just simply not legally true. Charter schools are required by law to accept any student who applies for enrollment. If there are more students who apply than there are seats available, we are required by law to do a public lottery that is random to select students. That's true whether those are English language learners, special needs students, or gifted and talented students. In regards to accountability, I appreciate the speaker's comments about the lack of public accountability. However, a primary cornerstone of charter schools is a trade-off, autonomy for accountability. The difference between a public school, traditional public school, and a charter school is that we will have a contract with UW that has specific delineated accountability measures for our performance. If we are not successful in meeting those accountability measures, the UW has the authority to close the school. So I will be available if council members have any questions.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you to everyone that submitted comments on this topic tonight. At this time, can I have a motion to approve the resolution, please? Is there a motion?
This is Mark Brescia. I'll make the motion.
Okay.
This is Kevin. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Pressure, a second by Councilor Levy. Now I'll take questions and discussion. So Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, Madam President. So not so much questions, but more just some comments here, if that's okay. While I see nothing wrong with the zoning, I am personally 100% against this charter school stripping away public dollars from our public school system. I do not think this is the best use. I think duplication of resources is a terrible model, and I personally do not hope to see this get approved at the state level. But since we're here for zoning, I am going to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. Councillor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, I do. For Miss Lisa, I'm sorry I did not get your last name. I couldn't hear it clearly.
It's
So
Forsyth.
if you're available, sorry?
Councillor Blakely, I'm sorry, it's Lisa Forsyth.
Oh, okay, thank you. I would like to ask, I realize our vote tonight is about zoning, and yet so many issues have been expressed by local residences. I would like to ask how your recruitment is done for potential students. Will there be any attention paid to families who live near the proposed location of the Lincoln Academy? I'll mute myself while you answer. Thank you.
There are a number of reasons why the Eclipse site was selected as a school site. Parents told us that a location that was centrally located was their preference for a school. We also recognize its proximity to both the Merrill neighborhood and the Hackett neighborhood. The Merrill neighborhood in particular struggles in terms of educational outcomes, so that is a positive for us. We also acknowledge the partnerships that exist on that site that include the Beloit Public Library, Beloit Area Health System, KFAD, Community Action, so we consider it to be a good location. We will be aggressively recruiting families from those neighborhoods. We have a community advisory committee that includes people like Pastor Sherrick Anderson, Pastor Danny Evans, Mark Smith, Yvette Herford, Gabby Rojas. We've begun talking about events in Summit Park over the summer if COVID will allow us to do that. We'll speak to churches. We'll go out into the community to provide information anywhere we can to families who might be interested in learning more.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blakely. Councillor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I had spoken earlier to Lisa, who is, of course, extremely knowledgeable about what the plans are for this charter school. And many of the concerns that were brought up today in the public commentary letters that were received were certainly things that we talked about at the time too. So right now I know that they are intending to allow everyone to come, not in any way have this be for wealthier families, and that they are committed to making sure that they know that every child deserves a good education. So even though I also cringe when talking about charter schools, especially in a smaller community, I know that I will say yes to the zoning for this. And if I can just throw this out there, I am so frustrated. Why aren't these considerations and this discussion happening through the purview of the Beloit school system administration and board? I'm appalled at that. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Forbeck. Councillor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, I have some comments, and I will follow up with questions. So I do request to go on record that my vote this evening for item 4B reflects the applicant's adherence to all zoning requirements necessary to be granted for the conditional use permit.
My upcoming vote does not reflect what I feel is best for our community. As an individual, I very much believe that at the center of every strong and thriving community is a strong and thriving public school. And at present, we have an excellent public school system, as well as 3 private schools with active voucher programs in the city. And these voucher programs do funnel money away from our public school. I have had several constituents verbalize concerns to me regarding the addition of this school to our community. And details around this project have been opaque. It is clear listening to the comments and then listening to Lisa. I mean, these are active and educated individuals, and it has been difficult to get clear information. So I contacted myself, the director of Wisconsin Resource Center for Charter Schools, for clarification. So if approved by the state, the Lincoln Academy would be a third-party authorized non-instrumentality charter school, meaning it would be a publicly funded entity, but privately governed. The leadership accountability would be to the UW Board of Regents versus the community and taxpayers who would be funding this school. So again, I strongly believe that at the center of every strong and thriving community is a strong and thriving public school system, and my vote only reflects the applicants meeting the necessary zoning requirements. So Lisa, I do have a couple questions. You mentioned the accountability.
Councillor Keys, I was just gonna say, it'd be good if you just kind of slow down a little and just take one question at a time, just for clarification.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, appreciate that. Your first question.
So for my first question is with regards to accountability measures. I appreciate Lisa's clarification on that the accountability measures for performance could impact the contract with the UW. Would there be any further avenues of accountability for the school with respect to the community and accountability to the community?
Well, I would say there are open records requirements associated with operating as a public charter school. There are opportunities for the public to attend board meetings and give feedback. There will be parent advisory committees as a part of the school structure, and the board itself, though not elected by the community, will consist of members of the community.
Councillor
Thank you.
Keys, Councillor Keys, your second question.
Thank you. So for the duration that the school, this comes from a question that I received from a constituent, and just a clarification. So for the duration that the school receives taxpayer money, will this structure that for the charter school with regards to accountability and charter standards and open records persist?
Yes, as long as the charter is essentially a contract, and the contract will always require accountability measures and certain provisions to ensure that we comply with the law. So.
And will these measures be the same measures starting that move forward indefinitely?
Well, most charter contracts are 5 years at a time. So it could be that you negotiate alternative measures at the end of 5 years, but I would say substantively, most of the measures will remain at least similar in nature over the life of the school.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Keys. Thank you, Lisa. Councillor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Lisa, for your presentation. And I think during the presentation, you did answer a couple of my questions, especially the one about the survey, community survey. Do you know about how many people participated in that survey? And did you get affirmative, or were people in favor of the charter school, or more people in favor than not? Do you
Yeah.
have that information, or?
I do. I don't have exact numbers for you, Member Levy, but approximately 300 people completed the first survey, the substantive survey. 90% of those were positive. There was a very small number of people who voiced opposition. There was some who wanted more information. I would also note that of those, more than half of them said they would be interested in enrolling their children. The rest of them said they essentially need more information. So what's really clear is we have to continue to talk to the community. We did an additional pop-up survey a few weeks ago to gather information about what it would take, what information families needed in order to make decisions. We got more than 100 responses to that survey, and again, people are expressing an interest in, you know, school culture, who we hire as a staff team, and the academic programming. So we'll work hard over the next few months to provide that information. We do have almost 300 petition signatures in support of the school.
Okay. I was encouraged by the fact that you said you were accepting all students, so that's good to hear. Has there been any discussion with school board members to get their input or discussion with them to see kind of where they are to make that, if this moves forward, that there would be not a smooth transition, but coherency here, that people can work together? Has there been conversation with the Board of Education? Kind of goes to Councillor Forback's question.
Well, we started our conversations and exploration of a charter school model with the Beloit School District administration and members of the board. So there's various ways that charter schools can be authorized. And there are two different, essentially, legal structures that you can do in partnership with the public school district. We, at the time, participated in a joint learning session with the Wisconsin Charter School Resource Association, 2 members of the school board, and Dr. Monroe, who was here at the time, and members of our team all participated together to explore what a collaborative partnership could look like. The Beloit School District at the time determined that they were not interested or able to enter into a partnership, and so we began pursuing the charter relationship with UW. Since then, there have been some informal conversations with different board members. We're very interested in picking up those conversations. We just had a turnover of 4 members of the board. You know, I think we have to essentially start over. Dr. Christy Cole, who's been hired to be our CEO, has a tremendous resume, including having run the Milwaukee Public School Charter Office, and is anxious and interested in having those conversations with the district.
Okay. Madam President, just a couple more questions.
That's your second question, and just one more after that. Go ahead, Councillor Levy.
Yeah, I'm trying to see, okay, out of the 2 that I had left. Okay, so this goes to the city manager or the city attorney then. So basically, if my understanding is they're just coming tonight to get a CUP approved, that the comments, to me, the comments that has come forward to us, we really don't have any decision-making power to say whether the charter school is approved or not. That I would think that the comments that people are sending to us, even though I respect them, should that not go to the state level? Because, I mean, unless I'm missing the point, it seems as though that we're just trying to approve the conditional use permit, that this is not to approve the school, to approve or deny the school, that those comments necessarily should go to another entity versus coming to us. Am I right in my thinking?
And, well, what I would like to do, Councillor Levy, I was just going to do that, remind councilors that your decision tonight must be related to the conditional use only and not other issues related to the charter school. I'll say that again. I want to remind all councilors, your decision tonight must be related to the conditional use only and not other issues related to the charter school. So,
Right.
So, yes,
so
Councilor
go ahead.
Levy,
Go
if
ahead.
I may, yes, I'm agreeing with your statement that the charter school is not being asked to be approved or denied on its merits tonight by the city council. That is not the role of the city council. The question before you, as the council president outlined, is a specific question of the conditional use permit at this property at this location. If there are any substantial evidence that can be presented that would create a problem with this particular use at this location, then those would have to be placed on the record, and that could guide your decision. But the opinions and beliefs about charter schools in general should not be used as a basis for your decision on this specific item this evening.
Right, and that's what I thought. That's what I thought. So those should go to another entity by being the state that's going to make the decision, or the person who's going to actually make the decision, and not definitely come to us.
That's correct, Councillor Levy. Thank you, Councillor Levy. Councillor Pritchell, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Well, I would like to ask a question but first I'd like to make a brief statement regarding what Councillor Forbeck and Councillor Levy both talked about, alluding to the school district of Beloit. I'm disappointed that the school district of Beloit and the charter school Kids First group are not working together to do this cooperatively in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how that happens, but it would just be, to me, something that's worth striving for. And I realize we have 4 new board members over there, and I would take this opportunity to encourage them to do all they can to make this happen together, because it simply is going to be better, especially in the long run. The immediate things are just put your differences aside and work this out, please. Now, let me go on and ask Beth and maybe Julie. The only thing I can think of in this location is the traffic review, the traffic impact, and it's not clear to me if that's been adequately studied and what it will be like. All of us understand what it's like to get around a school at those 30-minute, 15-minute intervals twice a day, and sometimes at lunch, et cetera. And we all know that in congested areas or areas where there is, 2-lane streets, et cetera, it can be quite confusing and quite haphazard and a bit of chaos. And so that does concern me. And I support the zoning. I think it's a great use of the location, especially considering its centrality to the neighborhoods. But I guess that would be my only concern sitting here. I'd like some assurance maybe from Julie or from Beth about that. Thank you.
Well, Mark, they did a traffic impact analysis to look at how the traffic would function. And we are seeing the traffic impact analysis showing a need for some turn lanes, which will thus prompt us to have to do a development agreement to deal with those turn lanes. So the traffic impact analysis, at least the first draft has been completed. Was shared with engineering and planning. Engineering is taking a look at it, but I do believe there'll be some public improvements required, which I think the applicant's willing to do and is required as part of this conditional use permit. So that is one of the things that is a condition of approval, is the traffic impact analysis, and then we will work to get the public improvements done with the developer to ensure that the site functions like it's supposed to. And that's part of the reason why we wanted the cross-access easements, or the city engineer had requested them, was to ensure that when that lot was divided off and it was on its own, that they would have those cross-access easements to allow their buses, to allow parents to travel the route they're showing as part of the traffic impact analysis. And that would ensure that even when it's owned by someone different, that they would be able to, drive through the Eclipse Center where they're showing their pathway. We would have the turn lanes, and so it would function as it should.
Well, let me throw this out there real quick. Again, we have a bank, and everybody knows how busy banks get at different times, different dates, and different times of the week. And we have a huge call center that's packed with cars, and I look over there all the time and see it. And again, any traffic impact I would like to hear the impact that those kind of operations in conjunction with the school location and the parking. To me, it looks crowded, congested, and that might be because the line drawings are hard to just visualize entirely, but I am an old geographer. I do know how to read maps and blueprints. And if it confuses me, maybe it's not clear to everybody. And anyway, that's my concern. I don't know if it's enough to overturn this plan, and I don't know if we should put it on hold until we get more clarity on the traffic impact. I'm not entirely convinced yet. So anyway, that's where I'm coming from with this.
Mark, the city engineer will evaluate the traffic impact analysis and ensure that everything gets put into place because that is required as part of what we're doing with the site plan and everything. And the parking study is required, and we will ensure as staff that enough parking is required. You will see a development agreement which responds to the required public improvements. So I think that we need to, it's my opinion that we need to let this continue to move forward, let them move towards meeting those conditions, which will require some additional submittals to us. You will see a development agreement in the future, which will address the traffic issues. That's my suggestion.
At this time, our city attorney, Beth Kruger, will shed more light for us.
I also just want to note it for the record that based upon the current state of the law, if you require certain traffic improvements, which there sounds like there are from the traffic study, that as long as they agree to improve the property in relation to those improvements, the council has no authority to deny based on that alone.
Thank you, Beth. That's one of the reasons I included you in the question. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the
Madam
clerk.
Madam President, this is Councillor Levy. I apologize. I'm just trying to find out when are they looking to open?
We'll get clarity.
Excuse me?
Just a moment. We'll have City Manager Luther to present, please.
I was just closer to the microphone, so. My understanding is that their plan is to open in September of 2021 for the 21-22 school year.
Okay, thank you.
And again, this is related to the conditional use only. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve this resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson,
Aye.
Councillor Blakely,
Nay.
Councillor Forbeck,
Aye.
Councillor Keys,
Aye.
Councillor Levy,
Aye.
Councillor Preschel,
Aye.
and President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes 6-1. Under item 4C is consideration of resolution 2020-68, approving a planned unit development master land use plan amendment to allow landscaping material sales at 2426 Prairie Avenue.
At this time, our Community Development Director, Julie Christensen, will provide a brief overview.
Aaron Nielsen of RM Contracting has applied for this amendment to the planned unit development master land use plan that you approved last year. So what they are proposing to do is to add a landscaping business with an additional outdoor storage area along Virginia Street, near where they put in a driveway. The original PUD included duplexes along Virginia Street, and they're proposing to put a landscaping business in there. And according to the applicant, this is a temporary use, and the final plan will include duplexes. Plan Commission did review this item on May 6th and voted unanimously 5-0 to recommend approval of the PUD Master Land Use Plan Amendment, subject to the 9 conditions recommended by staff. This amendment authorizes said land uses. Landscaping contractor office with outdoor storage must maintain a minimum of 30 feet from the PUD district boundaries. No additional commercial development can occur without a PUD amendment. The PUD must maintain 15% of the gross land area as open space. Mature trees on site must be preserved to the maximum extent possible or replaced on site elsewhere. The new outdoor storage area must be screened with a minimum 6-foot privacy fence by August 1st. The business hours may only operate between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. each day to prevent disruption to adjacent residences. The applicant shall obtain site plan and architectural review, which shall include a detailed review of all site, grading, utility, landscape, and parking plans. The applicant must submit plans to construct residential development by December 31st, 2025, and all other approved uses and conditions associated with the original PUD approval remain in full force and effect, and any major changes will come back through this public process, and minor changes can be approved administratively. And at the very back of this item, on the last page, was an email we received prior to the Plan Commission meeting from a concerned resident about construction traffic that was on Ywca Court, that were, according to them, were heavy trucks and often were traveling very quickly down the road, and there's young children in the area. The applicant at the Plan Commission meeting did indicate that that was before they had put in their driveway on Virginia, because people were trying to use a different route to go, and that was no longer happening. So just to remind you that there was a comment that was received earlier. And Plan Commission did recommend approval subject to those conditions listed in the staff report.
Thank you, Julie. When the city council agenda was posted, an email address was included to provide an opportunity for community input by noon today. At this time, the public hearing is open. Would the clerk treasurer please provide any input received?
I did not receive any input for this item.
Therefore, the public hearing is now closed. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution?
This is Nancy Forbeck, and I so move.
Excuse me. And this is Councillor Blakely. I second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion by Councillor Forbeck, a second by Councillor Blakely. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, none at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Councillor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, I'm assuming that the duplexes have to be built when we okay this. Am I correct in that?
That is correct.
Okay, great. And are there going to be 4 or 3?
3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Forbeck.
That's all the questions I had.
Thank you. Councillor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Just to clarify, the neighborhoods the area neighbors were included and some of their concerns are addressed with the condition. Is correct?
Julie's coming.
I'm getting up here.
With like the
Yeah.
hours of operation and the privacy and everything.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
so
sorry.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That, yes, some of those conditions that were put in there, like the hours of operation and the fencing, were to try to minimize the disruption on the adjacent residential neighborhood.
Thank you. I appreciate that involvement with the community. No further questions.
Thank you, Councillor Keys. Councillor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Prairie, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to comment that at the Plan Commission meeting, the developer was pretty clear that a lot of the problems with the truck traffic was a result of the Prairie Avenue reconstruction period that was going on, and some of the adjustments made for that, and that the current plan and the current new build of the entrances will alleviate all of those issues.
Thank you, Councillor Prairie. At this time, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson,
Aye.
Councillor Blakely,
Aye.
Councillor Forbeck,
Aye.
Councillor Keys,
Aye.
Councillor Levy,
Aye.
Councillor Prairie,
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Under item 4D, consideration of resolution 2020-65, approving an amendment to the 2015 to 2019 consolidated plan and 2019 annual action plan and budget.
Our Community Development Director, Julie Christensen, will give us a brief overview.
On March 27th, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, the CARES Act, was passed to prevent, prepare, and respond to the coronavirus. On April 2nd, the city was allocated a special award of $384,288. These funds are required to be tracked separately from our annual allocation, and there are certain flexibilities with regard to the funding. One such exemption is that there's not a limit on the amount of funding that can be awarded for public services, which, as you may recall, sometimes results in us not being able to fund some of the agencies who help our residents with the greatest needs. The Community Development Department did reach out to a lot of the agencies and the health officials to try to identify the most urgent needs during this emergency. And what we've identified is a couple categories of funding. The first is economic development. There's a need for small business support and then micro-enterprise support. Micro-enterprise means a business with fewer than 5 employees. Under public services, the greatest needs were emergency legal aid assistance, emergency eviction prevention, emergency food access, emergency medical access, and motel vouchers for victims related to COVID-19. And then program administration, which allows us to allocate additional dollars that are needed to actually do the administrative load that goes along with applying for grant funds. And then housing services, emergency foreclosure prevention. So attached to the staff report is, besides the resolution, is a budget sheet which shows the amount of funds that we are recommending. And so we're recommending awarding $45,430 to community action for eviction prevention and emergency food access, $44,000 to legal action for legal assistance to prevent evictions related to COVID-19, family services for motel vouchers for victims related to COVID-19, HealthNet COVID-19 assistance, Beloit Area Community Health Center COVID-19 assistance, and then there's, I'm sorry, I forgot to give the amounts, family services $10,000, HealthNet $44,000, and Beloit Area Community Health Center $44,000, and then $76,858 for program administration, And then, small business and micro enterprise support with Ywca, $100,000. And then neighborhood housing services or NeighborWorks Black Hawk region, mortgage assistance related to COVID-19 for $20,000. And then on the following page is a description of what type of assistance they would be providing to our low and moderate income residents. This is on your agenda for action tonight. We are trying to get this moved as quickly as possible. We have to do, all of this will be incorporated into our 2019 plan, which we will then submit to HUD. And we're gonna get that done as quickly as possible so that the agencies, so that we can get contracts signed with the agencies and get these dollars deployed in our community.
Thank you, Julie. When the city council agenda was posted, an email address was included to provide an opportunity for community input by noon today. At this time, the public hearing is open. Would the clerk treasurer please provide any input received?
I did receive one letter from Celestino Ruffini, the CEO of Visit Beloit. As a Community Development Block Grant recipient, I write to request that you include support for Visit Beloit, Beloit's destination marketing organization, DMO, in your action plan for funding through the CDBG Coronavirus Supplemental as provided by the CARES Act. Specifically, please provide a subgrant of $40,000 and request a waiver from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to allow the funds to be used for travel promotion, tourism-based economic development, and convention and meeting sales. The COVID-19 crisis has had a devastating and disproportionate impact on the travel and tourism industry, including many DMOs like ours that are funded through a combination of local hotel room tax and private sector contributions. The stay-at-home order and social distancing measures that were put in place in response to the outbreak have abruptly upended private sector finances and catastrophically reduced hotel room tax revenue. According to current projections, these problems are only expected to continue for the months ahead. According to the data released by the U.S. Travel Association in partnership with Tourism Economics, approximately 8 million jobs in the travel industry will be lost by the end of April, accounting for a third of all job losses in the U.S. The travel industry losses alone will wipe out over $500 billion from the economy, leading to an $80 billion decline in tax revenue this year nationally. Travel and tourism means a great deal to Beloit and Rock County, generating $430 million in annual spending and supporting more than 4,300 jobs. These jobs are at risk of being lost permanently if more is not done to support the needs of Visit Beloit and small tourism-related businesses, many of which support low and medium income populations in our community. The CARES Act provides $5 billion in CDBG CV funds to help communities respond to COVID-19, including efforts to avoid any job loss caused by social distancing measure. The Act also gives the HUD Secretary the ability to waive any regulation that would prevent grant recipients from fully responding to the effect of the outbreak. In response to similar crises in the past, HUD has provided waivers for grantees to use CDBG funding for travel promotion and tourism management. Furthermore, given the unique challenges facing the travel industry, it's appropriate to help DMOs and small tourism-related businesses that keep workers employed. As we continue to act in the interest of public health and safety, it's important that we do not allow tourism-related businesses of our city to wither at the vine and close permanently. The resulting job losses would make the road to economic recovery much longer and only put our low and medium income populations further behind. Therefore, it is critical that you consider the needs of Visit Beloit and small tourism-related businesses in your CDBG-CV budget and activity plan. I request your thoughtful consideration to fund this subgrant request through the CDBG-CV opportunity. Sincerely, Celestino.
Thank you. The public hearing is now closed. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved. This is Councillor Blakely.
Moved by Councillor Blakely. Is there a second?
Second by Nancy Forbeck.
Okay, a second
And
by,
Councillor Keys.
Okay, I have a motion by Councillor Blakely, a second by Councillor Forbeck. At this time, I'll take questions and discussion on the motion. I would like to remind councilors to please speak slowly, and if you have one question, if you could take one at a time, that would be very helpful. We'll begin with Vice President Anderson. Do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, none at this time.
Councillor Blakely. Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Thank you, President Duncan. I just want to say that in this time of the pandemic crisis, it is so gratifying to hear some relatively good news. I'm very glad that the monies are partly going to prevent evictions. I'm also very glad that in the area of economic development, attention is being paid both to small businesses and micro enterprises. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blakely. Councillor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I do not.
Thank you, Councillor Forbeck. Councillor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I think that I do have some discussion and then a question for Julie. I think that it's great, as Councillor Blakely mentioned, that we are supporting individuals being able to stay within their homes when there's so much uncertainty with employment right now for so many, as well as supporting small businesses. So, Julie, would you mind just clarifying how our small businesses can go about pursuing these grants through Ywca and the other, what would be the best way to take advantage of these loans?
Well, Ywca has a website, and they have contact information on that website, and they've got information on their current loan programs, because they actually have current loan programs for businesses struggling with COVID. So if you go on their website, they do have contact information on who you can reach out to apply for those funds.
Great, thank you. And then will this be posted? Will the city post this like on our website or on Facebook to communicate and encourage individuals within the community to seek out these resources, or how are we going to be getting this out?
We fund the agencies once we get approval from HUD, and they will do their own, put their information out to their client base, and get information out there as to what kind of funding is available. We don't usually do public information for the agencies. We let them kind of reach out and do that themselves.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Councillor Keys. Councillor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Preschel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Brittany covered what I had.
Okay. And I would just like to say thank you, Julie, to you and the staff for your efforts on prioritizing this pandemic crisis, and also for strengthening partnerships on behalf of our community. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Blakely.
Aye.
Councillor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councillor Keys. Councillor Keys?
Can you please repeat that, Councillor Keys?
Some streaming, so I can come back to her. Councillor Levy?
Aye.
Councillor Preschel?
Aye.
President Duncan?
Aye.
Councillor Keys? there a way to see if she's muted?
Probably those owls out by her house chewing the wires up.
On my computer, it shows that Councillor Keys is now unmuted. You might ask her once again.
Aye.
Thank you. That passes unanimously. Item 5 is public comments.
Can you?
When the agenda was posted, we asked the public to notify us by noon today if they wished to provide any public comments. The clerk treasurer will provide any public comments submitted at this time.
There are several. Please bear with me. Tara Lamb. I am writing in support of item 12B. Beloit is unique from the rest of Rock County, and in order to most effectively manage COVID in our city, I fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plans. I support Governor Evers' ability to make exclusive decisions for Wisconsin and the Health Department to exclusively make decisions for Wisconsin. Please do not reopen schools even next semester. Things will not be drastically better before semester and will be facing worse issues in the fall. Online schools have proven to be very effective, and our students are happier now compared to the normal classroom day at schools. Second comment is from Carolyn Simonton. Please protect me and my husband and the thousands of others at risk by COVID-19 by passing item 12B. If everyone can go everywhere, we will not be safe going anywhere, not even to the grocery store or drugstore. Penny Raybuck says it is imperative that Beloit keep restrictions in place until this virus is under control. I see far too many not wearing masks or social distancing in public. I limit my shopping to one visit once a week. During that 1 hour, I try to respect the 6-foot distance, but others are not. We need to protect the citizens of Beloit. Please keep Beloit safe. Ellen Joyce, 1134 Eaton Avenue. We need to continue to apply safer at home regulations in Beloit for at least a few more weeks. Cases are on the rise in Beloit, and our city includes many vulnerable populations who need special protections from this virus. I'm writing to support item 12B on Monday's City Council agenda. Beloit is unique from the rest of Rock County, and in order to most effectively manage COVID in our city, I fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plans. I understand the frustration of business owners who are eager to reopen, but public health concerns must come first at this time. The longer we stay at home now, the less likely we are to have to lock down again over the summer. Jenny Hoople says, I am writing in support of item 12B. Beloit is unique from the rest of Rock County and is one of the communities being hardest hit by COVID-19. In order to most effectively manage COVID in our city, I fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plan. Diane Leadit. I am writing to support item 12B. Beloit is unique from the rest of Rock County, and in order to most effectively manage COVID-19 in our city, I fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plan. I appreciate your time in this matter. Joanne Lentz Mant. I'm writing to encourage the city of Beloit to adopt a resolution to effectively manage COVID-19. The virus has greatly impacted some in Beloit, and it is essential to advocate for people who are left vulnerable by COVID-19. I ask that the city uphold the safer at home measures with the City of Beloit resolution. Mary Seberg. I am one of the citizens from Beloit that have a compromised immune system, but I can't wear a mask due to medical conditions. I am helping my immune system by taking measures through vitamins and other medical procedures that help to enhance my immune system. I think Beloit citizens should have freedom of choice as it comes to wearing a mask or not. People that are showing symptoms should stay home. We are all adults and should be intelligent enough to make the right decision. Freedom is something that has to be considered, and the Constitution states that. Make the right choice. If guidelines are going to be made, businesses shouldn't be restricted. Creative ways can make this happen in a safe and productive way. Nyla Adama. I'm writing to support item 12B. Beloit is unique from the rest of Rock County, and in order to safely and effectively manage COVID-19 in our city, I fully support a resolution to adopt its own plan. I have faith that a scientifically backed, equitable, systematic approach to reopening our city that balances the needs of individuals, our economy, and our public health can be implemented. Greg Wallendahl. Beloit has shown a disproportionately high number of COVID cases recently. I'm calling on the Beloit City Council to make plans to appropriately and safely open our businesses, schools, and recreational areas. I'm in favor of opening if there is a strategic plan with guidelines. I believe the people will respond positively to the plans that are measured and transparent in putting the safety of our community first. Misty Crop. I'm writing to support item 12B. Beloit is unique from the rest of Rock County, and in order to most effectively manage COVID in our city, I fully support the resolution to adopt its own plan. I have a 7-year-old with an immune deficiency. In December, she was hospitalized due to O2 levels being in the low 70s. She only had RSV. Every time one of us had to go to a store, we have to come home, change and shower right away while the other parent disinfects and puts away the groceries. We can't allow her to see friends or grandparents. She goes to sleep scared sometimes because of everything going on. The longer we can continue a safer at home order, the better. It will stop those such as my daughter and hundreds of vulnerable people from infection and death. Please think about the people who live in our wonderful town who are already at risk to those who don't wear masks and just don't care. Please support item 12B for the sake of those who can't fight this virus. Jackie Jackson. I'm in support of item 12B of the City Council agenda for May 18th. Carol Lisinski. I encourage you to approve item 12B, the resolution to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in our community. While some parts of the U.S. are past the peak of this infection, the virus is still growing in Beloit, and it is too soon to relax our efforts to slow its spread. As a resident of Beloit, I'm counting on the support of the City Council to help keep us healthy. Thomas Holmes. I write in support of item 12B on the City Council agenda for May 18th. The Wisconsin Supreme Court's recent decision, of course, does nothing to diminish the threat of the risk of COVID-19, an extremely contagious pandemic virus for which there is no vaccine. The court's decision in no way disputes the soundness or medical appropriateness of a safer at home order, but only the DSH's secretary's authority to issue it. Importantly, the city did not invalidate any local orders related to the pandemic. Beloit finds itself confronted with a pandemic virus that very often is spread by asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic carriers. Its prevalence in this community, contrary to data for the nation as a whole, is affecting all adult age groups. In order to effectively confront and prevent the occurrence of COVID-19 in our community, I support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plan as soon as possible. Tina Lentz. I'm writing to support item 12B. I support a decision on a local level to manage COVID as necessary for our situation here in Beloit. Elizabeth Brewer. I am writing in support of Resolution 2020-89 on today's City Council agenda. With new cases of COVID-19 continuing in Beloit, it is appropriate and important for the city to develop and implement its own plan. Hester White. I'm writing to support item 12B. I fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plan. Harry and Kedron Wiersgala write together. We are writing to support item 12B on Beloit City Council's agenda for Monday, May 18th. We are unique from the rest of Rock County, and we fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plan. John Kalkertz. I'm writing to support item 12B on tonight's agenda. I fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plan to uphold safer at-home measures. Megan Miller. Thank you for taking my comment. I'm writing to support item 12B. I fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plan. Jessica Fox. I'm writing today in support of item 12B. As a resident of Beloit, I want to make sure that we are protecting our whole community from the spread of COVID-19. We have made progress, but our city is still facing a crisis, especially in our community members who are vulnerable to the virus. Thank you for considering this measure and keeping our community safe. Judith Robeson, please support the resolution on COVID-19 to maintain the safe at home requirements. Beloit has a high-risk demographic, and we need to provide guidelines to keep our community healthier and to prevent the spread of this dangerous virus. Consistent public health guidelines are necessary during this pandemic to save lives. The Supreme Court has turned a blind eye to this need, and we now look to our local elected officials to fill the gap and provide necessary leadership. Mary Howland, I'm writing to support item 12D, which is on tonight's City Council agenda. To most effectively manage COVID, I support Beloit to come up with its own plan. Social distancing and wearing masks seem to be working. I believe we need to continue with this strategy. Please help keep Beloit safe. Larry White, as you think about when and how to lift stay-at-home restrictions, please do not be swayed by a vocal few who do not represent the wishes of the majority of Beloit residents. Please err on the side of caution. Listen to the advice given by medical experts. We all want to revive the economy, but even conservative economists like Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve Chair, says it would be a mistake to open up too soon and suffer through another wave of infections and death. Thank you for reading. Carl Mendelson. I'm confused by the following wording in the overview. Currently, Rock County Public Health Order is more stringent than what is being proposed in the City of Beloit's resolution. The more stringent order will be followed by the City of Beloit. The City of Beloit's resolution will be in effect until June 2nd unless otherwise modified by the Beloit City Council. I support whichever order resolution is stricter, Rock County versus City of Beloit. Betty Magnus, please pass a resolution that upholds the standards that Beloit needs to maintain safety. Carol Mankiewicz, I support following the strictest guideline for COVID-19 prevention to protect Beloit's population. Pablo Terrell, I'm writing to support item 12B on today's City Council agenda. Our city has been greatly affected by COVID-19 infections in the last few weeks, and I believe the city needs safer at-home measures. Penny Rabick, it is imperative the Beloit keep restrictions in place until this virus is under control. I see far too many not wearing masks or social distancing in public. I limit my shopping to one per week. During that time, she respects the distance. Carol Simonton, please, I think this is a duplicate. I've already read that one, I apologize. Harriet Everett, I'm writing to support item 12B. I personally am not feeling protected by my leadership in Beloit. I feel we were behind in our acknowledgement and response. I have been in business, and instead of demonstrating concern for our safety, they are trying to make profits. I personally know of groups of young people gathering at Riverside Park at night and then returning home to their families and businesses, such as Woodman's. The seriousness of this pandemic does not seem to be communicated well enough in Beloit. Not everyone watches CNN, especially the younger generations. Beloit is unique from the rest of Rock County and always had a stepchild feel to me in order to most effectively manage COVID in our city. I fully support a resolution for Beloit to adopt its own plan and demonstrate concerns based on science for us. Steve Howland, dear Beloit City Council, I write in support of Resolution 2020-88, supporting the creation of a community task force on COVID-19 reopening and recovery, and 2020-89, related to COVID-19 prevention and control in the city of Beloit. However, I would encourage the City Council to go further in relation to the task force and add an additional whereas. The COVID-19 crisis has laid bare the extreme racial disparities that exist in our country and state as documented in the October 2019 Center of Wisconsin Strategy Report. And add to the be it resolved, creation of a local task force of community partners that would review localized metrics and develop plans related to response, reopening, and recovering in Rock County. serve as a focal point for community information shared and input, conduct collaborative problem solving on identified gaps, and share resources as needed to address priority areas of concern, with specific focus on identified gaps in racial disparities, perhaps using strategies identified by COWS at, and he lists a website address. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I have just a couple more. Susan Adams, I'm fully in support of item 12B on your agenda. This one would have Beloit write its own safer at home plan. I have not seen too many people in Beloit not taking this seriously, and this is with a safer at home measure. I'm also very much against the alternative school and proposed zoning change. I don't believe it's a good idea to have a school within the same entrances and exits as commercial buildings and businesses. I don't like the alternative school for other reasons, but I do not think it belongs over the former mall. I do believe this school will hurt Beloit School District, and I feel it will further stratify our city. And finally, from Representative Mark Spreitzer, City Council members, City Manager Luther, and City Attorney Kruger. Ahead of your meeting tonight, I want to express my support for Agenda Item 12B. I appreciate the thought and care that was put into the resolution, and I believe it is important steps to take. For the last 2 months, we have seen testing, tracing, and treatment capacity increase, but we need to take a safe and strategic approach to reopening. I know that Beloit, and in particular our Latinx population, has been especially hard hit by COVID-19. Without a measured approach, we risk squandering the progress that we have sacrificed so much to make in Rock County and in our state, and putting more lives at risk. While I support Rock County's decision to implement a safer at home order through May 26th, I know that there has been uncertainty in Rock County and across the state about whether county orders will continue and for how long. I agree with the Attorney General call that Rock and other counties have the authority to issue safer at home orders and to update these orders to gradually continue to reopen. I also support the City of Beloit doing everything it legally can do to put safeguards in place for when the safer at home order is lifted at the county level. It seems clear that the COVID-19 crisis will not be fully resolved in Beloit by that time, and that Beloit needs to prepare to take additional steps specific to its reopening. I strongly support the idea of putting in place municipal orders that would serve as a backstop if and when existing county orders are lifted or weakened, as the resolution in Agenda Item 12B would do. I also want to offer whatever help I can to you in your effort to keep all of us safe. If there are state resources that I can advocate for Beloit to receive, I'm ready to do whatever I can do to help you put them to use in our community. While the centralized state response has been upended, I firmly believe that we only prevail over COVID-19 by working together to get communities and resources they need. Please also let me know how I can assist in communicating to the public once your local orders are adopted and take effect. Aside from the risk to public health, one of the greatest harms caused by last week's state Supreme Court decision is that business owners and their customers are confused about what is and is not allowed, and when that may change. I'm happy to do anything I can to help ensure public awareness and understanding after you take formal action tonight. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me about this or in any other legislative matter in the months and years ahead. Thank you for all that you are doing to keep the City of Beloit healthy and safe. That concludes the comments I received.
Wow. Wow. How many did we have tonight?
That was
Quite a few.
31.
31. Wow. Wow. Thanks to all our residents and legislators who submitted public comments this evening. Your voices are heard. That said, I have moved item 12B up on the agenda. City Manager Lori Luther will provide a brief overview for us.
Thank you. The City of Beloit is committed to safely reopening our economy while protecting the health of our residents. Although the Wisconsin Supreme Court overturned the state's safer at home order, cities and public health officials still maintain local authority and obligations related to the prevention and control of COVID-19. The overturn of the statewide Safer at Home order should not be interpreted as though the risks of COVID-19 are no longer present in our Wisconsin communities. Rock County has issued an order. However, it is not likely to remain in effect long enough to address the issues that are specific to Beloit. As of Friday, May 15th, over 65% of the confirmed positive COVID-19 cases in Rock County were in Beloit. And despite Beloit being only 22% of the Rock County's total population, there is also a disproportionate impact on the Hispanic and Latino population, with nearly half, 48% of all cases in the county affecting this ethnic group. Due to these specific local circumstances, the council has the proposed resolution before you for consideration. The city's local authority is under Chapter 323 of the Wisconsin State Statutes and Section 1.10 of the Beloit Code of General Ordinances. I am recommending the proposed resolution to ensure that adequate safeguards are in place once the county's orders are lifted. The proposed resolution before you is designed to allow all businesses in all public spaces, public buildings, and private buildings that are open to the public, including businesses and churches, to be open if they comply with certain physical distancing and protective measure requirements. Guidance for many types of businesses can be found at the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation website at wedc.org. Search for Reopen Guidelines. There are specific recommendations for gyms and fitness centers, hair and nail salons, construction activities, hospitality services, manufacturing, restaurants, retail, etc. And while we believe that guidance is helpful, it is important to also have a minimum level of requirements as businesses begin to reopen. Again, that is what this resolution, which may also be referred to as a local order, seeks to provide. This resolution also requires all individuals in the city of Beloit to comply with physical distancing and protective measurements when in shared or public spaces outside of their homes. In response to one of the concerns raised in public comment, I want to clarify that the use of a mask or cloth face covering is strongly recommended, but it is not required due to equity concerns or challenges that may be an issue for individuals with disabilities, or if shortages of personal protective equipment were to occur. So again, it is a strong recommendation, but it is not a requirement, and we understand that some people may have disabilities that limit their use of such protective equipment. It is my recommendation that this order be revisited in 2 weeks at your next regular council meeting. At that time, the provisions of the order can be retained, changed, or removed, depending upon the local circumstances for the city of Beloit. The question may be raised about whether city residents are required to follow this proposed resolution or the county's order. To clarify, currently, Rock County has adopted the entirety of Governor Evers' order. The county's order is currently more restrictive than the proposed resolution before you. If Rock County's order remains in place, those orders would be followed by the city of Beloit. If Rock County's orders change, then the provisions of the proposed resolution would apply, provided they are more restrictive than any changes that Rock County makes. I also want to take this opportunity to remind our Beloit residents and individuals who work in local businesses that community testing continues here in Beloit at Telfer and Kruger Park. That is taking place from 11 o'clock to 7 p.m. through Thursday of this week and on Friday from 11 o'clock until 3 p.m. There is capacity to be tested, and you do not have to be symptomatic to receive a test. If you wish to get a motion on the floor, I would then be prepared to respond to any questions specific to this item.
Thank you, City Manager Luther. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution?
Vice President Anderson moves.
Okay, we have a first
And
by,
Nancy Forbeck second.
okay, we have a first by Vice President Anderson and a second by Councillor Forbeck. Now I'll take comments from councilors. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Just a comment. I just want to thank our staff for crafting this up over the weekend. I know obviously from public comment, there's a lot of citizens concerned, so I appreciate you hearing them out and doing all you can to protect us. So thanks.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. Councillor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Yes, I want to thank the city manager and the staff as well, as Clint was saying, for pulling this together in our great time of need. I also want to thank all the citizens who spoke up about this. Beloiters are a concerned group who really care about each other in the community, and all the comments definitely show it. I do have a quick question, perhaps for the city manager, about the testing for COVID-19. Is it appropriate to ask that question at this time?
Go ahead, Councillor Blakely.
It came to me from a resident of the city. She does not currently have symptoms, but she has a very compromised immune system. She wonders if it would be appropriate for her to be tested at this time with the two places we're providing.
Yes, again, I want to be very specific about this because it's very important. We have the National Guard here. We have 58 individuals from the National Guard who are helping us at these two sites, and we have capacity to test more people. You do not need to be symptomatic to receive a test. We were initially prioritizing individuals who were symptomatic or those who had a known exposure to someone who had tested positive. However, we have testing capacity. There are plenty of tests remaining. So I would strongly encourage that individual and anyone else who is in the community and is concerned. I myself am going to go and get tested, knowing that there are sufficient tests available, and we encourage folks to do so.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Thank you, Councillor Blakely. Councillor Forbeck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No questions, but I'm extremely proud of our staff and Lori. Thank you so much. This is extraordinarily appropriate for us.
Thank you, Councillor Forbeck. Councillor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
I have discussion and then one question. And I too would just like to truly thank the tireless work and efforts of Beloit City Manager and all of our other city employees. You've prioritized health and safety of every person in our community first and foremost since this all started. And I thank you for continuing to do so. We are already living in a state of heightened stress and unknowns, and following the Supreme Court ruling last week and with the response of the leaders from the legislative majority, they are verbally supportive of local control and local communities responding in order to best protect and serve their communities. So again, I am just very proud of the city of Beloit for being proactive with this and how we are continuing to prioritize health and safety for all. So my question would be, I believe, for City Manager Lori.
Go ahead.
And this is referencing some of the comments, and it's more clarification for our order. I just want to clarify, and where the state still stands. It's my understanding that the Supreme Court ruling still did not touch school openings, correct? Like the school openings are still, schools are still closed at the state level. Is that correct?
That is correct, and our local school district has already made it clear that the students will not be returning for the remainder of this school year.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keys. Councillor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Pressel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Well, I'd just like to echo what others have said, that I know how hard and long these guys worked. I was riding my bike by and I saw their cars there Saturday afternoon, and I know they were there very late, and they came back a Sunday and worked even more. And I want to thank them again. I want to thank all the staff. Everybody's been very practical and proactive in dealing with this, and we're always out in front, and I really appreciate that. I just have one odd question, maybe. Who determines the level of restrictiveness? It seems like a rather ambiguous. There's 6 pages to this document, or 4 active pages. How do you determine what's quote unquote more restrictive? I guess that would be my question.
Certainly. Because the task force on the agenda for tonight already had an informal meeting today, I think I'm at liberty to share that there is a high likelihood that the county will have less restrictive measures in the very near future, and it will become quite evident that the city's order with requirements will be more restrictive once that occurs. So I don't think that there will be any confusion over which is more restrictive. Certainly currently, the Rock County order, which follows Governor Evers' original order, is more restrictive. Once that changes, I feel quite confident in saying that when that occurs, what the county's intention in moving forward will be less restrictive than the city's resolution before you.
Thank you. And I just want to add and echo again that our staff, they are truly, truly amazing. And to all those first responders and everybody on the front lines, thank you. And I just want to say to the public, I just want you to know that our council and our staff take the COVID-19 pandemic very serious. And we will continue to put our community's safety first. At this time, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Blakely.
Aye.
Councillor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councillor Keys.
Aye.
Councillor Levy.
Aye.
Councillor Pressel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item 6 is the consent agenda, and all items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Thank you. Would any councilor like anything removed from the consent agenda at this time? Can I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move. Nancy Forbeck.
We have a first by Councilor Forbeck. Is there a second?
I'll second. Brittany Keys.
Second by Councilor Keys. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions or discussion? I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Blakely.
Aye.
Councillor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councillor Keys.
Aye.
Councillor Levy.
Aye.
Councillor Pressel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Under item 7 this evening, you have consideration of resolution 2019-67, approving renewals of the alcohol beverage licenses for the license period July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. These all came before the ABLCC last Tuesday, and as Councillor Keys was previously on the ABLCC committee, so none of you are new to this process, but every year licenses expire June 30th. They must be renewed and come before the body for renewal. There were 10 applications that did not come back in this first round, so those will come back to you in June. I still have 2 that are outstanding. We did have 1 Class A business close in 2019 and 1 Class B business close in late 2019. So there was that little shift, but other than that, these are all relatively routine renewals. And of course, you just approved 5 change of agents, so those new agents will now go on this renewal year.
Thank you. At this time, can I please have a motion to approve the resolution?
This is Councillor Blakely. I so move.
Okay, we have a first by Councillor Blakely. Is there a second?
This is Councillor Prairie. I will make a second.
Okay, second by Councillor Preschel. Vice President Anderson, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Beck, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Preschel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
At this time, there's a motion and a second to approve the resolution. I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Blakely.
Aye.
Councillor Beck.
Aye.
Councillor Keys.
Aye.
Councillor Levy.
Aye.
Councillor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. There are no ordinances this evening, and there is 1 appointment on your agenda. That appointment is to the Plan Commission, Willis J. Zick, replacing James Farragher, to a term ending April 30th, 2023.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion at this time to approve the appointments?
This is Vice President
I
Anderson.
so move Nancy Forbeck.
Okay, I think I heard the first by Vice President Anderson and the second by Councillor Beck. You were kind of chiming in at the same time. Are there any other questions or discussion on this motion? If not, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Blakely.
Aye.
Councillor Beck.
Aye.
Councillor Keys.
Aye.
Councillor Levy.
Aye.
Councillor Preschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. We are on to councillor activities and upcoming events.
This is an item, Tim, and we usually talk about some of the things and places that we're going in the community, but it's also a time where if councilors would like to, they can share information from their committee reports, because not only do councilors serve as, they do serve on the committees also as representative of the council. And so a lot of people in the community may not be aware of that, and so the councilors are certainly welcome to share as we go around to share our events. First, we'll have words from Vice President Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. I won't comment on the committee stuff as we approve stuff from the ABLCC and Appointment Review Committee, but Just a few things. First off, thank you to everybody who commented. We really appreciate it. We do take those seriously when you do chime in. So feel free to do that anytime you have something that's concerning you about the city. Next, I really want to thank our city staff. First off, Lori Stoller, you read all those comments like a champ, so really great work on that. And then also all of our staff that are working during the COVID-19 outbreak. We know it's been tough, and we appreciate what you're doing. And then today I attended the Stand Against Racism event virtually. Thank you to Angela Moore and the staff from the YWCA for hosting. And special shout out to Council President Regina Duncan, Patty Hernandez of the Janesville School District, and Milton Mayor Anissa Welch for speaking. And then the last thing I'll make a comment about is just thanking the Rock County Board of Supervisors. Last week they did approve a resolution encouraging the health department to share information related to COVID-19. The state may be opening up slowly, but COVID-19 is still going to be here. And I thank them for trying to be supportive of their municipal partners the best way they can. So that's all for my comments tonight.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. Councillor Blakely.
Thank you, President Duncan. I just want to thank the community for responding positively to the local order, those that do, and just stay safe and well as you go out in the community. For instance, if people are going to go back to their favorite watering holes, respect the management there and the fellow patrons, and keep your social distance so nobody gets in trouble and fewer people get ill. I also want to say, as the new council rep to the Beloit Public Libraries Board, that the library is now offering contactless curbside pickup of materials all the way through Saturday. So curbside pickup is available from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And you can either call the library for more details or to reserve materials or handle it online. One more quick thing. I want to say congratulations to our newly selected Fire Chief, Daniel Pease. The Beloit Police and Fire Commission selected Chief Pease, who has served as interim fire chief since last July. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Councillor Blakely. Councillor Forbeck.
Well, I don't have any news on committee work because we haven't been able to meet on the committees that I'm involved with. I guess the only thing I have to say is my husband and I are busy trying to support where we can our local, especially the restaurants. And the city is looking beautiful. We took a ride around today with our masks on, even in the car. And the flower baskets look great downtown. So I think we are doing as well as can be expected in this time of really great danger. So thanks to everybody. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Forbeck. Councillor Keys.
Thank you, President Duncan. My committee also did not meet last week, but I have one report and a couple non-COVID health-related announcements. First, I want to recognize that May is Arthritis Awareness Month, National Osteoporosis Awareness Prevention Month, and American Stroke Month. And because most of us are spending more time on the internet or devices these days, you can find more information on arthritis awareness at the CDC website, osteoporosis awareness at nof.org, and stroke awareness at stroke.org. And remember that strokes are medical emergencies, so keep thinking fast, looking for facial droop, arm weakness, speech difficulty, and time to call 911. I also participated in the YWCA with their virtual event as we took a stand against racism, and I want to just invite everyone across Beloit to join us today and every day as we continue to support the YWCA mission of eliminating racism and empowering women. My last health-related comment is that last week was National Women's Health Week. So to all the women in Beloit, make sure you're taking care of you and investing in your health. My report is from a call that was organized by the Wisconsin League of Municipalities that I participated in by last Friday, May 15th, and the topic was COVID-19. The speakers included representatives from Governor Evers' office, the Wisconsin Health Department of Health Services, and the Wisconsin Department of Justice. And the main profound takeaway that I want to share was from Julie Williams Van Dyke, the Deputy Secretary at the Department of Health Services. And she clearly stated that following the Supreme Court ruling and the lifting of the Safer at Home order, that the state has now entered a harm reduction approach when addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. So the virus is still very much there. And the previous order with the Badger Bounce Back Plan was more of a harm mitigation strategy. But because of the now that being lifted, now all recommendations have shifted to a harm reduction approach. So as we move forward, I encourage everyone to follow the order as well as look toward different resources. The resources recommended there were from the WEDIG website that Manager Luther referenced, wedc.org/reopen-guidelines for employers, employees, and customers, as well as the Department of Health Services website for COVID. And that the final thing from her was that we just need to continue all efforts to expand testing, tracing, and isolation of cases. And if you test positive, please communicate with your local health department and comply with recommendations. And encouraging takeaway, we can contain this by working together and a strong testing and quarantine strategy. So thank you, everyone, for all of your hard work.
Thank you, Councillor Keys. Councillor Levy.
No report.
Thank you. Councillor Prussia.
Well, I would just like to, I thank the staff for working so hard, and I mentioned that already. I'm on the Visit Beloit board, and I would like to remind everybody, I believe a report was issued on this, but Visit Beloit's report on hotel occupancies is, and revenue is down 70% from a year ago. They were on course for a record year until this started. They're currently down at just about 70% down from what they would normally be expecting. That's a huge hit, and the tourism industry is very, very hard hit by this. The Plan Commission, we covered most of that. I'm not going to talk about too much else. I just wanted to say one thing about, I don't want to talk about the virus problem directly. It's not my area of expertise, but I will say that there's still no certainty in much of this, and we don't know enough about this virus. Maybe nobody does yet. The world is still in a learning curve, and hopefully we'll get answers. Those answers will be accurate, and they will come soon. But what we do know, or at least we should, is we know how to be kind, tolerant, considerate, and understanding. And I'm not seeing a lot of that sometimes in our virtual world that we're living in now. I just want to implore everybody that for now, the best we can hope for is to be kind, be tolerant, be understanding, be considerate to one and all and each other. And if we do that, we'll be the best that we can be, and we'll be better when this is finally past us. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prussia. And now my report. I just want to start out by saying I attended the Appointment Review Committee along with Vice President Anderson, and of course we had it virtually. And we certainly have vacancies coming up and on the committee, so if you're interested, you can go to our City of Beloit website, or you can call our executive Assistant Pam Lathrop at 364-6614. And then I also want to mention on another note, Carolyn Hanson passed away. Carolyn was a very active member. I believe she's on our Board of Appeals Committee. So we want to keep Carolyn's family in our thoughts and prayers. Next, I want to thank Angela Moore and the YWCA for giving me the opportunity to participate in the virtual Stand Against Racism event today. And I would like to just share a part of that speech. It's not, I'll just do just a little snippet of it. And I had shared that it's my hope that by serving in leadership roles, that other girls, women, people of color, and those who may feel that they don't belong will be encouraged to become actively involved in their community, whether it is cleaning up the neighborhood or volunteering to serve on a board or committee. I ask that each person please learn to appreciate others who are different, and more importantly, to spread more empathy and love. By joining together, I know that we can eliminate racism and discrimination throughout our entire community. Again, heartfelt thanks to the YWCA. Next, I want to reiterate the importance of residents who need the COVID-19 test to please use the free drive-through at Kruger Park and Telfair Park. I did it myself. It was very simple and it was easy to do. Any additional information you may need will be available on our City of Beloit website and Facebook page. Also, I want to recognize the Department of Public Works team and our emergency medical services. We presented a proclamation for both groups this evening. Please know that we truly appreciate the hard work that each of you put in every day, especially during this crisis. Thank you so much for your dedication and service. In addition, I want to congratulate again Chief Pease on his promotion as our new Beloit Fire Chief. And I want to say congratulations to all of our 2020 graduates in the City of Beloit. We are so proud of you and wish you all the best. Better days are ahead. Next, we will go to item 12A. City Manager Lori Curtis Luther will provide us with a brief overview.
Thank you. On the agenda for this evening is a resolution to support the creation of a county task force and my participation in said task force. And while I am certainly happy to be a member of this group, I think the action that the council already has taken makes clear that the city of Beloit has unique challenges related to the COVID-19 virus. And although I will be a willing and glad to participate in this task force at a county level, I will continue to be bringing back recommendations to the City Council specific to the needs in our community. I do believe that we can pursue both of these initiatives on a parallel path, but I want to be clear that my participation at the county level would not in any way prevent my coming back to the council and asking for your consideration of other items related specifically to the city of Beloit. And before you move forward with this particular item, and as it is related, we spoke earlier about community testing here in Beloit. We do not yet have the data that is going to show us what the results were of having this community testing in place. Because we are going to continue testing through Friday, we will be getting results next week that will help us understand what we can learn from that information. I also want to take a moment to thank Chief Peace. He is now officially the fire chief here in Beloit, although he's served as interim since last July. He and Deputy Chief Murray and Patty Miller, who I kind of confiscated from the Public Works Department. She has an education in emergency management. And the three of them, on behalf of the city of Beloit, along with police officers, providing some traffic control and assistance, were working all weekend, working last week on community testing and supporting that effort. have a lot of other staff to thank as well that have made that happen. Again, Jason Dupuy and his traffic management skills, and all of the staff providing the barricades and signage, etc. But I would be remiss if I did not publicly acknowledge that the action you took previously this evening on the resolution specific to COVID-19 in Beloit would not have been possible without the legal expertise from City Attorney Beth Krieger. There's a standing joke where I mispronounced Kruger Park all week, calling it Krieger Park, and now I'm doing the opposite. My apologies. Beth Krieger, who really took this challenge on, and it could not have been done without her. So I know that a lot of things has gone around tonight, but I sincerely wanted to mention that I don't often do these in public, but that is an incredibly important piece of work that was done tonight, and I appreciate her guidance. So you have before you the resolution on the task force. I'm happy to participate. We will see what the results of the county's actions are, perhaps as soon as this week.
Thank you, City Manager Luther. Can I please have a motion to approve the resolution?
I so move, Nancy Forbeck.
It was a first by Councillor Forbeck. Is there a second?
I believe I heard a second by Councillor Blakely.
Okay. So we have a first by Councillor Forbeck, a second by Councillor Blakely. Now we'll take comments and questions from councilors. We'll begin with Vice President Anderson. Do you have any questions or discussion on this motion?
No, I do not.
Thank you. Councillor Blakely, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Councillor Forbeck, do you have any questions or
No.
discussion on the motion?
Sorry, President Duncan. No, I don't.
You're fine. Thank you. Councillor Keys, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Levy, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
No.
Councillor, thank you, Councillor Levy. Councillor Puschel, do you have any questions or discussion on the motion?
Well, I don't know how one gets appointed or placed on this task force. However, I did suggest and recommend former Council President Marty Dench to Lori last week and or over the weekend. I don't know. Sometime I lose track of the time. And I was just wondering if that's possible. Marty's a retired pharmacist. He's a former council president.
Council,
And he's familiar with. He was a former BIF president. He's current president of Beckman Mill. So he brings a lot of background and insight and a good vision to this. I would hope he could be on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Puschel. I will have City Manager Luther to respond to you at this time.
Thank you for that reminder. I want to make it clear that the City of Beloit is not convening this group. This is a group that is being convened by Rock County itself, and so I was happy to pass that information along, but we are not extending the invitations or assigning individuals to the task force.
Okay. Thank you, City Manager Luther. And I just want to mention before we move forward, I just want to say thank you to Rock County Board for the partnership, and also thank you, Lori, for your leadership, because it's been a lot of hours, and also all of our staff, all the people in this room today. It takes more than a village, right? So I just want to thank you all. So if I were to name every City of Beloit staff member, I would be here all night, and I don't think that would work. So I just want to say sincerely, thank you very much. At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. At this time, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice President Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Blakely.
Aye.
Councillor Forbeck.
Aye.
Councillor Keys.
Aye.
Councillor Levy.
Aye.
Councillor Puschel.
Aye.
President Duncan.
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
At this time, I will now accept a motion to adjourn.
So move, Levy.
A motion by Councillor Levy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Keys. Any discussion? Hearing none, would all in favor please say aye? Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now adjourned, and this ends our city council meeting for this evening.